What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Casper podcast. We have a special guest this evening. I'm super excited. I've been waiting, I would say, for the last 2 weeks in heavy anticipation, trying not to throw up every chance I could get because I've been super nervous. Anxiety has been a mug out here, but guess what? This is going to be great. Hopefully, this is fruitful in some way, shape, or form, inspiring and edifying. But before we get into all that, I'm going to drop the intro real quick. They threw my ancestors in the ocean. Now we became the new wave, and we're about to drown this system. Every time I go in, every time I go in, every time I go in, boy, I'm jamming. Every time I go in, every time I go in, every time I go in, boy, I'm jamming. I'm a kid, I'm a kid, I'm a kid, man. I'm jamming. I'm a kid, I'm a kid, I'm a kid, man. I'm jamming. Welcome, everybody, to the Casper podcast. I'm your gracious, beautiful, blessed, beloved, and black host, the kid that they call Casper. The KID in Casper stands for that king of development. I'm that menace with the melanin. Reject me as I am, as long as he's still relevant. So tonight, I have an interview with somebody I consider a big brother, a mentor in this space, a pioneer in some sense. He is somebody I like to say that Nuance is his niche. Context is his favorite color and everything like that. This is somebody I consider a legend as a Christian rapper. Very new to this YouTube space as an influencer and everything like that. I have been spending, I think, for like the last 2 hours trying to understand how to enunciate his last name. But for those that know me personally and know I have two full names, that's pretty hard. And English is not my first language. So everybody, please welcome to the Casper podcast. Y'all might know him as a rapper, producer, clothing apparel owner that only lasts for sales as far as like 3 weeks on hand. But I know him as Ruslan. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm doing well. That was a fantastic intro. Thank you so much for the kind words. I don't know if all of them are true, but I appreciate them.
Gotcha. Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you for accepting my invitation. I know you're super busy as it is. I know you like high key work for Batman and nobody knows, but understandable.
We just work a lot, man. As you can see, Zach Sparazzo is behind me working right now, slaving away. But I made sure we could be here with you this evening.
That's what's up. So I do. I know you told me you wanted to, get past formalities and everything like that, but I feel like it's only fair to kind of break you in a tad bit when it comes to what we do here on the Casper podcast. So we already pretty much know who you are. You're, like I said, you low key, high key work for Batman and everything like that. But I do always ask my guests these questions. The only two I'll actually have prepared, and it's this one. It's completely random. I don't really know if this means if you're going to be on the right side of heaven or not. But the first question is, if you had to pick a favorite Disney princess, what favorite Disney princess would that be?
Cinderella? She was asleep, right? Is that Cinderella? And then, no, that's Snow White. I get them all confused, bro. I don't remember Disney stuff. But whichever one was asleep and then woke up. Snow White.
I think that was Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, if I'm not mistaken.
Beauty. All of the above. The one that was dreaming. Don't sleep on your dreams. Bang, bang.
Gotcha. All righty then. And this one, I don't really know if you know anything. Well, this will let me know how much of a nerd you are. I'm not sure. If you had to pick a starter 6 Pokemon set, what starter 6 Pokemon would they be?
Bro, I know nothing of Pokemon. I just got into Beyblades because my 6-year-old loves them, and we just transitioned over to Bakugans. Okay, so I know nothing of Pokemon, but if my son gets into them, I will then educate myself.
Oh, I mean, I appreciate the honesty. I mean, like, we already kind of knew you were cooler than me, so that's besides the point.
But the nerds are cool now, man. Like, my nephews are like into anime, and it's like a thing. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but it's a thing, man. Nerds run the world now. So shout out to all the nerds.
Yeah, and then you just joined the Mohawk party. I've noticed that you've
Not
been
a
growing
mohawk.
like the.
It's not a mohawk.
It,
It's a mullet. Put some respect on my mullet's name. It's
it's a
a
it's
mullet.
a
It's not a mohawk.
it's a it's a very casual California Mohawk, but yeah, if you
Ah.
something like that. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you here today, not only because I think it's super dope to always hear your thoughts, but I wanted to, see if you could carve some time out of your schedule to pick your brain a little bit about your most recent album you just dropped, Love What You Do. I mean, I think I sent you a video of me dancing around in it in some very I call them my 90s joggers, where I just kind of like lounge around in my slippers and everything like that. But I wanted to pick your brain a little bit because I would say I would say it's kind of nicer to listen to this album and everything, especially since I've been following closely to you with YouTube as of the last like 2 years. You've come into this new space, so it's always interesting and refreshing to hear your commentary off of the mic, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I guess like my first question is, what inspired not only this album and why the title Love What You Do?
Well, what inspired the album? I don't know if any one thing inspires, for me, an album. I think it was a culmination of things and kind of coming full circle to starting in music, pivoting to YouTube, then kind of going back to music, then going back to YouTube, and really just trying to seek that contentment regardless on what I was doing. And I think the music kind of overflowed from the season of life that I'm in. So being a dad, creating, helping people, having a different paradigm than where I was at Indie Jones 3. I would say those things. Just more living life, and every season has been different from every project. So more or less that. Less, yeah, there wasn't like one thing that inspired it, but more or less just kind of the evolution of where I'm at now.
Gotcha. It seemed like, and this isn't to say that you were stiffer by any means. It seemed like you had a lot more fun in this album, I would say. Even like your back and forth with you and Foggy on the first track, where you were like, "Hey, it's a little too TMI. We don't really need to do all that." Having like, I think you had your son's ad libs on the project. Is this the first time you've had Levi? Those that don't know, Levi, who everybody like loses their victory over because he wants to be Miles Morales for Halloween every year. But is this your first time that you've had your son, I would say, participate with you, or I would just say share this craft with him?
No. He's like came in and kind of messed around before in the studio, but he was actually on Due for One. There's a song, I think it's called My Love, where you hear him being born at the end of it. So technically he's been on a record before. So from the Due for One album, if you guys want to hear my son being born, a very kind of intimate moment of my life, you could actually hear him being born at the end of My Love. And I feel like we've worked him into something else before. He's been in music videos before, but I think this was a time where I kind of wanted to build like a cohesive sound. And I thought, what better way than infuse my family, and I think children's voices have always made me smile, whether it was like, I remember Timbaland sampled the baby on an Aaliyah song, and boom, boom, do, 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 and he had this like,
tell me you're that somebody.
Yeah, tell me that you're somebody. And so I've always just liked that. Like, I like children's voices, and I think they sound super cool. And so I wanted to, again, create like more of a cohesive sound to my production as well as to the record, and give you those same like Jay-Z, Nas, Watch the Throne vocal chops, but have my son do them, and kind of make it more unique that way. And so that's kind of where the idea came from. And the rest of it was just, I don't know, kind of like what I was going through at the time when I wrote it, and I had a different kind of project in mind, and we shuffled it all around. And I said, man, I like this Love What You Do theme. And I had the apparel collection dropping and doing the challenge. And I think it gives me more range to articulate ideas versus just music or just videos. But we did like a multi-layered exploration of what the content is about.
Yeah, and it was one thing that what I got out of it, especially when I'm listening to this album, I still listen to One Take like religiously. I was very happy to hear it on the countdowns from the streams you did today. It just seemed like I mean, the title is called from the album "Love What You Do." It literally just seems like a let my hair down type of project where I could have fun with this. My man's rocking a mullet, a California mohawk, I'll call it. But it seems like in a lot of ways, not so much that you've fallen into this with your older music. It seems as if you're just on cruise control. You're just enjoying life. You're almost narrating these different seasons, like you said, on this project. And I don't know. I sense a at peace Ruslan from over the last, I would say, like 2 years.
I think when you diversify your revenue streams, when money isn't as much of a concern, you're not trying to quote unquote make it, and you have flexibility, I think the art is going to sound different. And I think that probably is the place more of us should create from. So instead of creating out of desperation or trying to launch businesses or ventures out of desperation, launching them out of stability and out of freedom, I think will create a different experience for you creating it and for the listener on the other side. So I think it's more so that I think a lot of the other projects I was either angry, hurt, or still trying to establish myself, where this is probably the first record where there's none of that. Like, I'm at peace, I'm happy, there's no I don't need to prove myself to anyone, and I'm more assured of like what I do is going to work, and what I do musically is going to work in time. And so there's no desire to like prove myself or anything like that. And so I think that's kind of the view of that, man. And so I think most of the times artists don't create from that place. So that's kind of where the music flew out of this time.
Yeah, it's one thing, and I think it's funny, we were talking about this before we fired up. I remember messaging you, I think it was like 2:00 in the morning. It was after one of your streams. I think you gave over the rest of the masters to, I think, your artist John Gibbs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and at the time, and I remember as you were doing it, this was during a time where things were getting kind of heated on social media. Things were getting nasty. Things were said. We don't really need to dig into that, but there was something that you said that like it broke something in me, and it was you said something that I think it was KJ52 said to you. It was, I'd rather be reconciled than right. And I think that for me was when I noticed, I was like, there's just something about, not that you had like a pride issue or anything before. I've noticed that you're just like, I don't care to be right all the time. I don't care to be able to say the one up bar. I'm at peace. This is just the place I'm in my life. And that's going to be everybody else's problem while I'm navigating through this. So I definitely see that before.
And KJ said that, and he really pulled from 2 Corinthians chapter 5, which has this beautiful passage about how we're called to be ministers of reconciliation because God reconciled us to himself, that we are then here to persuade and reconcile people back to God and be in positions to be reconcilers. And so that's something that, I think if more of us took that posture across the board, man, whether it's in our homes, in our communities, in our families, with our friends, jobs, what have you, if the heart was, let me try and be a unifier, let me try to be a reconciler, let me try to be a peacemaker. You don't really need to be right all the time, because it's more so about let me be someone that is here for reconciliation and not for trying to be right. And so that passage, I encourage folks to read it, man. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 11 is really good.
Yeah. It was like for me, it was during a season in my life where I think it was something that, though I wasn't going through it was something I knew I was going to need, because in this year, probably since I would say September of last year, I've had to remind myself it's better to be reconciled than right. I don't always have to be right. It's better to be reconciled. And I remember hearing you say that in your stream. I bookmarked it for myself, and I was like, this is something just to keep at the forefront. Because at the end of the day, you know, especially as disciples of Christ, if they love me more than my Lord and Savior at the end of the day, then maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I need to get out of the way a little bit and allow Yahweh to have his way in my witness. So
yeah, that's good. I think coming to that conclusion can be a journey, right? Because it's not like, it's one thing to know and have knowledge of something. It's another thing to experience and walk through something. And it sounds like you are going and learning that same thing, which is beautiful to hear.
For sure. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, and it's funny because I've never heard anybody put it this way. I think it was right around the election last year. And I think for me as a disciple, you know, so little story about me. I didn't get saved till I was 19. I was going to hell on a scholarship. You know what I'm saying? I was out here wilding a little bit. But I would say, like, for me, and much like everybody else, this was the one time where it seemed like the church was heavily involved in politics, or better yet, politics was heavily involved in church. And you came out with a song, a statement, a sentiment that just said, I'm politically agnostic. For myself, I've never been, I always tell people, you know, my alliance is to the lion and the lamb, not a donkey or an elephant. What was that for you? Has it always been something where it's been a statement where you've been politically agnostic? Have you leaned more way than another, or is it just something that you knew since being saved? I can't put my faith into any of these camps like that.
I think it's been a combination of refining the idea more as I paid attention more, and really being exposed to it before I was saved. I talked about having a teacher named Mr. Hidalgo, and then I had a different teacher named Tamborino. And Mr. Hidalgo, I remember him being a Democrat and him giving us his reasons. Then I remember Mr. Hidalgo, he was a real estate guy, he was a Republican, and there was another teacher I had. So I would have these different teachers and different perspectives and kind of hear all of the different views and be like, man, I like that. Oh, but I also like that. Oh, but I also like that. And so there being ideas from different camps that I liked. However, then seeing it play out to its logical conclusion, meaning that watching very closely the election of 2004, and I was a Bush guy. I was like, man, this is, you know, you don't want to switch leaders in the middle of a war. And I couldn't vote yet, but I remember then all the stuff that came out. It was like weapons of mass destruction. They weren't in Iraq. Afghanistan was a wash. Like this whole post 9/11 thing was just kind of trash top to bottom. So I remember thinking like, oh man, like this dude got it wrong. And then I remember Obama getting elected, and then I was really paying close attention. I was in college at that point, paying really close attention, and then being like, man, like this isn't the guy I thought he would be, right? He pushed through the Affordable Health Care Act. I thought that was good, but there's a lot of stuff where I think he just kind of, I don't say dropped the ball on, but he just wasn't able to execute in the way he branded himself as like, I'm this outsider. I'm this guy that's gonna, you know, change and hope and, you know, all these different things. And then like, he gets in there like, sounds like business as usual, right? And so I think then Trump becomes the response to that. I think Trump is the response to that, some of which is technology getting us more polarized, communication flowing faster, some of which is there's some degree of racism there. And some of it's just like folks just felt like he kind of took some L's, you know, and people we could attribute it to a lot of those other rings. But if you look at 2016, I mean, he flipped a lot of those counties, Trump did, that Obama won. So you got folks that voted for Obama in 2008 and in 2012 that then voted for Trump, you know, and I don't think those guys were like, those folks were like sleep racist, and then their racism woke up in 2016. I think they had legitimate gripes in terms of that whole middle America swing state. So I just kind of, I would pay attention, and not to the point where I wanted to take a side, because I was like, man, Hillary seems pretty trash, but Trump seems trash. And by the time 2020 rolled around, I had more time to think and really flesh out these ideas. And I think really what the politically agnostic thing was me speaking to the church and being like, guys, like, just leave people alone. Like, people are going to vote for who they want to vote for. Neither of these guys got it right. Nobody has all the answers. How about we just leave people alone, and maybe we can move towards a post bipartisan class in America, not class, but political climate. So I think that's all that was, man, is like, the more I think about it, there were policies that Trump had that I thought were good policies. I think some of his foreign trade stuff was solid. I think he did good stuff. And there were things that, obviously I disagreed with. And so, but what happened was in a church, there's a lot of statements like, you can't vote this way, or you can't be this party and vote this way across the board. Like, there was Democrats or people that leaned left that were literally saying anyone who voted for Trump was a white supremacist. And I was like, wait a minute. And then you get into the whole, like, I mean, look at Florida, like that. A lot of Cubans voted for Trump. A lot of Puerto Ricans voted for Trump. I think that's a stretch to say all those folks are white supremacists. You can say their views are, maybe they're incomplete, maybe they're missing some variables. And then obviously the other side is like, you have Trump voters saying, like, if you vote for Biden and you're a communist and you're a Marxist and all this nonsense.
Don't forget the baby killers.
The baby killers
too.
Yeah, the baby killers. And so you have these like really polarized sides that I don't think did anyone any good. And the church was the most present in it, because before, Black Christians would tend to vote Democrat, white Christians would tend to vote Republican, but there wasn't really the crossover of those communities. Now the world is much smaller. So now maybe if you don't go to the same church on Sunday morning, you're still probably interacting some way on social media with people that are of different ethnicities and maybe slightly different political leanings than you. And so now this is all kind of crossed over, and everybody's just yelling at each other and telling each other what they're doing wrong and how you hate minorities, you hate poor people, well, you hate babies, right? And so all the parties are flawed. Every politician, I think anyone that's desiring to be a president probably has a couple screws loose. To desire that degree of headache just sounds like you probably got a few screws up. And so this is the stuff we divided over as a church the majority of 2020, unfortunately. And I think me saying, hey, I'm politically agnostic is basically saying, like, look, vote for you who want to vote for and just leave each other alone, which, by the way, is a very conservative idea. Like, hey, just leave me alone. Like, I just want to be, that's a very libertarian, maybe not conservative is the wrong word. It's a very libertarian idea to just be like, hey, look, man, I just want to be left alone. Like, I want the government out of my business. I want you out of my business. And that's really what being politically agnostic is about. And of course, you're going to have folks that are going to say, it's because you're a white cisgendered male. You can afford to be politically agnostic. Or then you got folks saying, so what are you saying? It's okay to be a Democrat and kill babies? It's like, I wasn't saying either of those things, right? I was saying vote for who you want to vote for based on your conscience and how you think through these issues. Because I think there's plenty of responsibility and just, fault that can be given to any party.
Yeah, exactly. And then not even that, it's the fact that I think that you've spoken this numerous times. And I've even heard KB and Amin say this, but putting your faith in Caesar to, advance Jesus's agenda, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Anytime that somebody in the White House, their agenda aligns with the kingdom's agenda, we're probably looking at the wrong kingdom, or
right.
Things in the world. We're really a lot more closer to the world's mindset than we really think it is. But that's it's always, I don't know. I always thought that was funny to me when everybody's like, oh man, what are we gonna do? I'm like, hopefully be Christians at the end of all of this. That'd be nice. Right. But something that I've heard you touch base about numerous times on your streams, and this is something that's been very helpful to me, because since joining your Patreon, I want to say around this time last year, I've been able to establish close relationships with people I consider family at this point. We talk literally every day. And I think of, like, not only the pandemic we all had to deal with, this reignited civil rights movement, everything being on lockdown. Apparently the new iPhone Delta variant is coming out, so everybody's kind of tripping. We don't know whether we don't know if we're going back on lockdown or not. Talk a little bit about not only the importance of establishing a foundation of faith as a disciple of Christ, but establishing some sense of community, being in I call these sessions Koinonia with the kid, but establishing some sense of Koinonia with like-minded people or just people in general during this time.
Yeah, I think community is important, right? And a lot of us had to pivot to a virtual community for the interim because we literally couldn't gather in person. And so I think that's a good way that we do and can use technology to build with people that are like-minded, or maybe people that even aren't like-minded, that could challenge us a little bit, push us out of our paradigm of like, it has to be this way. So I think that's a beautiful thing, man, is to have some form of community. And the truth is, like, I feel oftentimes closer to folks that are more maybe remotely away from me than I do sometimes in my own proximity, just because it's weird how technology can do that, man. And so I think that was probably one of the pros of this entire thing, is you kind of got to be and think a little different, you know. And I think as we're now opening up and things are becoming less locked down and all that, hopefully we do make an effort to go back into some type of physical koinonia and gatherings and connection and that sort of thing, because I do feel like that is necessary for us to have in person. Like, I was at Flavor Fest, man, and Flavor Fest was dope, and I met a lot of the folks from our Patreon community at Flavor Fest, probably about 30 or 40 of them that came out, which was beautiful to just, like, we talk on Zoom, but like, yo, you're here, like you're in the flesh. So I think there's going to be opportunities for that, and I'm excited to see how that changes over the coming years. Because I'm hopeful that things are gonna open back up, and I don't think this is like we're permanently in lockdown. I think the Delta was hard, but it seems like it's died down, and so now, from my understanding, the other variants that are coming are way less dangerous, and more people have gotten vaccinated and are doing that. And so I think we're gonna get back to not normal, but a new normal. Like, I don't think we're ever gonna get away from like folks who work in the healthcare industry or folks who work with food not wearing masks, or you not getting on an airplane without. Like, I think that stuff is more or less here to stay. But I think all the other stuff, we're going to get back to normal, in my opinion. We're going to get back to in-person concerts and in-person gatherings and going back to movies and hang out with people in person. But I think we'll be more deliberate in how we do those things and who we choose to spend our time with after things start opening up.
I think one thing I will say is we just take advantage and capitalize off of establishing intimacy with one another. I feel like we all, because if we think about how 2020 began, Kobe died in the helicopter crash, and life seemed very fragile, I would say, after that. And then pandemic, civil rights movement got reignited in a sense. I think we all had to look in the mirror and be like, especially for disciples of Christ, we're doing this intimacy thing wrong. We're doing this love thing wrong with one another. So hopefully that becomes more normalized, and people washing their hands. That'd be great too. If people could just wash their hands and cover their mouth when they sneeze, you know what I'm saying? I think we should all be okay. But I mean, wishful thinking, but let's just
I think that's probably the good thing that we did pick up from, I think, like countries like Japan, where they kind of willfully have been putting on masks for years, decades, when someone is sick. And so I think that's dope. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a good thing. I think we'll walk away with.
Don't you think they got that from Michael Jackson though? I mean, he's been kind of on that wave before.
Nah, I think that was like the first SARS pandemic. I don't think Michael had it, but Michael was on to something too. Michael was ahead of his time, clearly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Sunglasses, umbrellas, the mask. I don't know. Maybe he was on the run from the law. I don't really know. That's besides the point. But yeah, man. I think that's something that we can all kind of grab at. Everybody thinks that's funny. That's something to kind of pay attention towards. But yeah, this is It's just, I think the one thing that I'm excited to see, and if you have time to kind of talk about it a little bit, we're talking about, I've noticed we're in the fourth quarter of 2021. It seems like 2020 never left necessarily. But I think we all had to either put up more effort than excuses at this point. You just celebrated hitting 100K on YouTube, what I'm saying? You just dropped the album. You got your California mohawk, or your mullet. I'm sorry. I'm
the mullet, man.
be
Put some
graceful.
respect on the mullet,
It's a mohawk, man. I've had a mohawk since 2008. I'm not gonna allow you to like escape being claimed as part of the Mohicans. You know what I'm saying? But I guess what my next question is what is next for Ruslan? What is next for Ruslan in this season? Not only as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as an influencer. People are checking you out. You're like white hot fire right now, and not white because you happen to be white, but you're just
I'm white
hot
too, though.
on
So
you.
okay.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But what is next for Ruslan as far as ventures in this season in your life?
Yeah, so we're doing a mastermyhabits.com free course on freedom forming habits, because I think we are a culmination of our habits. You are your habits. And I think if we can help people really understand how to form better habits, how to break addiction, how to build healthy habits. I'm working on getting my therapist to be in the course. So we're doing that for free, just really because I think that's a pain point that a lot of people are going through. And obviously there's a spectrum, like someone that's addicted to fentanyl is going to be someone that like, oh man, like I like looking at pretty girls. There's a spectrum of addiction there. But I think if I can help people kind of fix that area of their life, which is simple but not easy, right? It's simple but not easy. I think I'm really in a space where I want to help people just solve some of their problems with whatever life experience I have and breakthroughs that I've had. So we're going to be working on that. You can sign up for that now at mastermyhabits.com. We are working on new apparel. I think the apparel for 2020 is going to be on a whole nother level, and I'm super excited about that. So we're starting to kind of forecast the spring launch for the apparel. And YouTube, I'm trying to get into just a better pocket of consistently making and creating and releasing music. So there's that, and more like digital products, man. I think our Master My YouTube Live course did really well. We have a Master My Merch course. We have stuff like that I think is going to really just help people if they want to get into the content creator space, have some sort of blueprint, because sometimes people just need a blueprint. Sometimes people just need hey, this is where the ladder is. And, it's going to take different people, different speeds to get up the ladder based on their talent and ability and frequency and relationship and access to information, access to equipment, so on and so forth. But at least they know here is a system that can work for if I want to get my merch up, if I want to get my YouTube up, if I want to figure out how to just make better choices and get healthier spiritually, purity wise, whatever. So I think there'll be that. I'm hoping to do more in-person interviews in 2022. So we're already starting to kind of lock in different things that we're going to be working on. Like I was on Southside Rabbi in-person conversation, which was really cool.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so we did an in-person podcast. I'm probably gonna have them on my channel in person. So there's good things in the pipeline, but I think it's really doing the same things over and over and doing them really well that I think is the long haul, right? So if I can consistently make really good YouTube stuff and have interesting conversations, I think people are going to find that valuable. If I can make good music, if I can have good conversation, if I can give people good digital products, good apparel, so on and so forth, I think those things over time compound. And I don't think people quite understand how the compound effect works, how the snowball effect works. I think that's something that should be taught mandatory, man. Is like, before you graduate high school, you got to know how compound interest works in debt, and you got to know how compound interest works in the market. And if you could understand those two things, then you could apply that, one, just to not making stupid decisions financially, and also not making and also saving more. But then you start understanding how things compound in other areas, because it really is like, I went from doing YouTube for years, growing to 15,000 subscribers, and then in a matter of like 2 months, doubling and then tripling that. And now it just continues to compound on top of each other. And that's the dope part, man. It's like once you find that pocket and that sweet spot on whatever format you want to do, it really does build over time. I think most people give up before they're able to see that breakthrough. For me, it was like close to 1,000 videos before I really start to saw that pop. I remember I was on Alan Parr's channel. I was at like 60,000 subscribers. I did 1,000 videos, and then I was on Alan Parr's channel, and that like boom jumped me to an extra 10,000 subscribers in a matter of weeks. When you do something well enough, you make yourself a value, and you make yourself useful. And when you make yourself useful, then people want to collaborate and work with you. People that actually have the opportunity to help you want to help you instead of you wanting them to help you. They actually want to help you. And I think that's how a lot of stuff in business and in YouTube creation, whatever, it tends to work more like that. Is like, you got to start moving and doing things, and then other people want to get around you, because that you also have utility at that point as well.
Yeah, it's establishing something somebody from your Patreon community says as well. It's establishing that emotional and relational equity with people, and then being able to show your work ethic at the same time, because nobody wants to just what do the kids always say? I'm 27, so I don't know if I'm dating myself with these terms, where they're just trying to like jack somebody else's glow and gain somebody else's clout or anything like that. It's what do you bring to the table, and is it going to be beneficial for me to eat with you once we sit down and have a meal together, essentially? But yeah,
absolutely.
I definitely get that.
You can get short results like doing what you just described, right? Jacking and copying or riding somebody else's wave, but usually that'll fizzle out, and that'll be short-lived, versus actually understanding the mechanics of building something out for the long haul requires just a different degree of effort and intensity.
Yeah, for sure. And so something that I'm actually kind of curious about these. I don't know if you have time for these. I usually ask people a couple of quick hitters. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you these tens of questions. They're pretty much opinion based. It's either or. Don't worry, I'm not gonna ask you. I'm not gonna ask you if you consider your hair a mohawk or a mullet. I'm not gonna ask you Nikes over. I might ask you Nikes over Adidas, because I know you in the resale game. So that's besides the point. But if you have time for this, humor me for a second. All right, T. This might get you in trouble. I don't know. Pharrell or Kanye?
Kanye.
Not even gonna think about it?
Not even gonna think about it.
Seriously?
No.
He made Despicable Me.
Kanye. 100. Kanye. Period. Yay
okay.
over everybody.
Oh, it's Yay. I forgot now. It's Yay now. We got it's
Yay.
Mr. Yay. Okay. All right, T. Flats or drums? Talk about chicken.
Flats or drums? Flat. What is it? A flat of chicken? What is a flat of chicken?
A flat. It's like it's the chicken that it has like two bones instead of just one.
No, they can't do all those bones. Drums. Definitely the legs.
Okay.
You want the drums, yeah.
Okay. All right. So this man believes in Jesus and he likes the drums. Okay, he's doing all right so far. Tyrese or Genuine?
Genuine.
Okay, cool. I thought I liked you already. Good. This isn't really a right or wrong answer. Prince or MJ?
Ooh, I mean, that's a hard one, because Prince was more prolific. Like, he put out more albums, and from a business standpoint, I love that he went independent and he just did different stuff, man. So, like, if my bias is playing into it in terms of where his career went, I like where Prince went. If we got to go off of just hits and impact, I mean, there's no way you can deny MJ. But I liked Prince's late stuff. Like, I was into musicology. I was into a lot of those records. And with MJ, I wasn't really that into his later stuff. So Yeah, man. So I think you can't, you got to give MJ his props. But man, Prince towards the end had a phenomenal run. Like he was still active, he was still performing, he was still doing dope music, putting out albums every year, all the time, just dropping stuff, owning his catalog. So like I like where Prince went, and MJ I think that obviously has a bigger catalog.
Okay, all righty. If you had to have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would be at this dinner with you?
Jesus.
All right.
Number 1, I would say Jesus, my wife. I would,
you know what? We'll just include her because y'all are one.
Okay,
once y'all
one
got
flesh.
married.
Okay, so I got 4
like
more. I got 4 more. So Jesus, Tupac. I think Tupac will be really interesting. Solomon. Who else? Solomon. I think so the Tupac, Jesus, Solomon, Jay-Z. I would love to talk to Jay-Z. I would love for Jesus to talk to Jay-Z. That would be dope. Yeah, and probably Ye. Yeah, I'll probably put Ye up there.
That'd be really interesting to say.
Pretty interesting conversation, right?
Yeah, so you have Yeezus and Jesus at the same dinner table.
Well, no, he doesn't go by Yeezus anymore. He is.
Yeah, my bad.
He's a new creation. He's Ye.
Yes. Absolutely. And my last question, as far as my quick hitters, is if you could see anybody to be on the Kid Casper podcast, who would it be? But your answer has to be somebody you could help get on here, essentially.
That's an easy one. I think. Have you talked to Truther yet?
I have not talked to Truther yet. No, I have not.
I would talk to Truther. I would talk to who else? Truther, Harrison Family Vlog. I like their stuff a lot. But yeah, I think those are two easy alley-oops for you that I think would be super fun to chop it up with.
All righty then. Well, first off, big brother, I just want to say thank you again for sharing this space with me. This was dope. I always say that, my guests are welcome back here anytime. I know you're super busy. You're trying to figure out how to make the Batmobile float again. So I understand that you got your hands full essentially. But thank you, brother. This was dope. I really appreciate you not only sharing the space, and I just wanted to, publicly thank you. Joining your Patreon last year, personally, it was one of the best decisions I made in my life because the people I've met within the Patreon community not only have become a part of my support system and we talk every day. Wow. It has immensely changed my life, brother. After, I told you this a couple of times off camera, leaving my old church, changing my whole support system, but having people be added in from that camp. I just wanted to say thank you, brother. Continue being you. I'm loving what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing, man, and just keep creating at the end of the day. If I can leave anything with you, of course.
Thank you, brother. That's cool, man. And thank you for affirming that thing about the Patreon community, because I think we're trying to be more deliberate with just those Zoom calls and giving people opportunity to connect and build. And so that kind of confirms a lot of the stuff that we've been thinking through. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course, no problem. All right, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. I don't know if you did. I mean, it's chilly and cornbread weather over here on the East Coast. As you can see, I'm cold and I'm wearing my hood. Because it's
63 degrees here and the sun just set.
Oh, well, God bless you. It's about 47. It's 47 degrees. And when you go outside, the wind hurts my face over here in Maryland. So it's pretty abusive. Everybody stay tuned. Go ahead and check out Ruslan's. If you haven't heard about him, then I just assume that you're locked up and you stole your phone from contraband. That's the only way you don't know about this man. Always remember, you are beautiful, blessed, and beloved. Raisins don't go on potato salad. By the way, Rus, have you ever put would you eat mayonnaise on top of corn for some odd reason?
Mayonnaise on top of corn? No, we put butter on top of corn, but not mayonnaise on top of
butter on corn is fine. How about Condensed milk on avocados.
No. That's some old country stuff, bro. I don't know what we talking about. They said no.
We'll talk about. I'll fill you in offline.
You gonna hit me? Okay. Respect.
Oh my goodness. Raisins don't go on potato salad, and Jesus wasn't white. Have a good night now, y'all.